Welcome to the Tots Cafe Show. I'm Angela.
And I'm Tina.
Today's topic is on how to have well-behaved children without discipline. Our guest is Naomi Aldort, an amazing author.
Naomi couldn't be here on the show with us, but we are video conferencing her in. Naomi Aldort is the author of Raising Children, Raising Ourselves, and of hundreds of internationally published parenting advice columns and articles. From infants and toddlers to children and teens, Aldort's guidance takes the struggle out of parenting. Instead of ways of controlling, she provides tools of understanding and responding to your baby, child, and teen. And she can be the best of herself, not because she fears you, but because she wants to, of her own free will. Aldort's solve communication formula has been praised as providing the best of the work of Byron Katie and nonviolent communication combined, and more. Aldort is a mother of 3 thriving young adults. Is it possible, Naomi, to shift our methods of parenting? And will it shift the child's behavior?
One of my techniques for shifting is the SOLVE formula from my book, which stands for SALVE. The S is the self-talk. First you do the self-realization. You work on yourself. You can use the work of Byron Katie, or you can do the short process that I offer in my book, where you just quiet with yourself, and you can even imagine yourself doing to the child what you would do if you followed what your mind wants to do.
Right.
Never the right thing. What your mind says first, that first reaction is the wrong one. It's better to delete that from the computer. But you look at it first and you see, do I really want to do that? You give yourself that time. The A is attention, and it's putting attention on the child from a point of view of, now that I handled me and my reaction, now instead of reaction, I can have a response. A response is responding lovingly to the child rather than reacting from my inner pain and from the need to control and the fear and anxiety that come in me of looking good, or of the child will never learn, or what would happen. And of course, these examples are not when there is a safety issue. A lot of parents like to stop me there and say, yeah, and if my child runs to the street, I'll do my meditation and it happens. But they do. They do that. So please always like to remind people, we're not talking about safety. When it comes to safety, take the action, and we'll deal with emotions later. Right. And actually, I suggest to be physical with young children altogether. But the A is for attention. So you put the attention on the child, and you see the child for who he is, and you notice that they have always a valid reason for what they do. A child never does something to hurt the parent, to disrespect the parent, to be rude. They have no such concepts. They've never heard of such concept. It may look to you this way because of your listening, but the child is taking care of herself in the best way she can with the tools that, whether you're aware or not, you have given her through experience. And she's doing the best she can. And so when I put attention on the child, what I look at, and I have a process called The Child is Right. There is a video on YouTube and on my website called The Child is Right. That explains that. And it helps you. It's also based in the work of Byron Katie.
Right.
So good in self-realization. And you look at, why is my child right to hit his brother? Doesn't mean I let him hit. Doesn't mean I don't do the physical stopping right away. But I don't need to be punitive. I can actually see, oh, I'm attentive to him. He needs to hit his brother because I left them by themselves too long, and his brother is getting on his nerves and wrecking everything he's trying to build.
Yeah.
And taking all his attention away. And he wants his money, and his brother is kind of ruining his life in many ways. So when I understand that, that's attention. I attend to the child, I notice. Then I listen. The child may be saying something or telling me with his action or with his tears or with his tantrum. Listen. That's another way of attention. Really listen to the child, not to you, not to that inner voice that you processed hopefully before, and make yourself available to the child. But to the child, if they're older, they'll say something. If they're younger, they're acting something. They're crying. They're running into your arms. They want to breastfeed or whatever it is. You listen to them. Then the V is for validate. And I stress in my book, validate without drama, because if you do drama and you try to teach all these emotional words, the child often becomes more excuse me, the child becomes more enraged and insulted, like you're telling them what they're feeling. You don't want to do that. So generally validate by saying facts. You wanted the tower to keep going up, and when you put another block, it fell. You wanted the banana to be whole and it broke. I understand.
It's happened.
And without the drama means not, oh no, oh, that's so sad. Now the banana is
Uh-oh.
another one. Now he's going to be more sad than he was.
Sure. Yeah, that's right.
So you don't want to do that. You just go into, oh, you wanted the banana whole and now it's in two parts and I don't have another one and it's late at night and we're not going to the supermarket. Soon, not today. So would you like to eat your banana in two halves, or would you like to eat something else? And you keep a benign attitude. But this is an example of the V, validation. The E is the hardest to explain. That's the empower. And often empower is kind of in the validation, in the how you validate, which is what I just did. When you don't dramatize, when you don't teach them to be a victim, like a horrible thing happened to them, but you have a more benign attitude that acknowledges and validates the truth and shows you understand, but doesn't come across like it's a disaster and somebody did it to you and oh no and all of that, then the child is empowered. That's enough generally with the young ones. They just move on. They finish crying. And to know that validation may bring more tears, not less tears. And that's all right. To be with the crying fully. And then when the child is done crying, they move on. You know, and there is no reason to even talk about what they did wrong and do a courthouse out of their house. A family should be a love house, not a courthouse.
I love that.
It seems that timeouts are quite well known these days. A few new parents wrote in and shared they're using timeouts because they don't know any other way to get their child to stop hitting them or hitting their sibling or addressing a non-cooperation. At the same time, they recognize it was effective. It would not be repeated over and over. What are the long-term effects of timeouts and why doesn't it work?
You don't need alternative because it's the whole thing is in the wrong direction. It doesn't address the issue. What's behind timeout is, again, a way to control the child, which is what we talked about before. And instead of controlling the child, we actually have to understand why the child has a specific valid need and address that need. So in my analogy is always the burnt rice. And I eat mostly raw, so it's not an analogy that even fits my life. But for most parents, if you put the rice on the fire and you find that it's burning, you don't blame the rice, you don't put the pot in timeout, or the fire, or the water.
That's right.
You know you are responsible. You left it there for too long.
That's right. Yes.
Your child is losing control and spilling things. You left the child there with no attention for too long. You left two children together to be with each other for too long. You burnt the rice, so you're responsible. And then the timeout is going against the child for something that he doesn't even get it. When you put, and the other very important thing to do is the solve formula, but to know that when the reason it doesn't work is the child is not learning anything from it other than lower their self-esteem, learning to obey and learning to be afraid rather than behave well out of his own free will. So he sits in the timeout, and what do you think he's saying to himself? Wow, I've learned something. I shouldn't have pulled my sister's hair. Who are we kidding? A child is sitting in time out saying, she doesn't love me. I hate myself, or I hate my mother, or, whatever angry thoughts of self, um, like hating oneself, being displeased with myself, and ending up as an adult with I'm not good enough, with low self-esteem, with not relying on oneself, because I tried to do this for myself and my mother says not to do it. I tried to go to sleep this way and my mother says to do that way. I shouldn't listen to myself. I should obey what others are telling me. Obedience is not a good goal. We want the child to to choose what they do because they want to, of their own free will, because they learned from how we treat them and how we are among ourselves and with them, and they learn from their own self as a result of it, that wonderful relationship. They will relate to others the way we relate to them. The time out doesn't sink in as anything but pain and being unloved and despair. And that leads to actually more what we call bad behavior. The child who feels desperate and doubting of mother's love or father's love is going to be aggressive, and is going to hate his brother because it's because of his brother that he got into this trouble. So now he hates him even more and he'll hit him even more.
That's not a love house.
No,
No.
that's
We
a
want a love house.
Yes.
I put it wrong. So we want love houses.
That's right.
Every situation has a kind and loving solution. Even if we need to interrupt, and yes, if one child is hurting the other, I would immediately separate them. But I would probably make sure that the one isn't hurt, give them a hug and a kiss, make sure they're all right, and the supposedly aggressor needs even more love and care. And I would say, I'm sorry I left you for so long. I give him a hug, I give him a kiss, and I'll find a solution. And I'll tell them next time when he disturbs you, call me. I'll help you. And actually do that, and actually interrupt even in the middle of something. Turn off the fire so it won't burn, and go right away and respond. And then the children don't need. Create a house that's so kind and cooperative with the child that the child never needs to hit another. He's never so desperate, so frustrated that he has to be aggressive. And then I know it's not always possible, so when it does happen, respond with kindness and with forgiveness and understanding that you made a mistake to create that situation that the child could not handle.
Thank you. Yeah, we all want confident children.
Yes, we
Leaders and
Yes, and they all are. They came in confident. Look at how
Yeah,
confidently they ask to breastfeed,
that's right.
to sleep, to be held. They are sure the world is there to serve them. And they're taking you for granted and giving you all the instructions what to do with amazing confidence. They gradually lose the confidence when we start telling them that what they're doing is not all right. And we're starting refusing and going against them instead of understanding them and finding a solution, which doesn't mean they always get their way. Very important to stress. Finding a solution may mean, no, we're not going to the beach right now. It is raining. Or grandma came by surprise and we're staying home. And I will hold you and you can cry about it. Not like you cry about it.
Right.
No, you can have the crying that you need, and I love you and I will hold you so that you can get your feelings expressed as much as you need. And I'm not afraid of feelings. So it's not about permissiveness, not at all. It's not about getting everything one wants. It's about leadership that is all kind and loving and understanding where the child is so you can align with his direction or her direction and her limitations and what she can or cannot actually do.
Thank you so much, Naomi, for being a guest on our show. You've given us some amazing information that is really going to contribute to the well-being of our child.
For articles, MP3 videos, CDs, free newsletter, and information about guidance on the phone, please visit www.authenticparent.com.